Hey y'all, it's Andrew. This week on The Snake's Paw, we are bringing you a basic pitch, our story pitch series, this week with Matthew in the driver's seat. As always, you can find all our stories on the podcast platforms and on YouTube at The Snake's Paw. You can share your thoughts via the YouTube page, or you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Snake's Paw. And you can support the show and get in on an increasing supply of bonus material at Ko-Fi, that's ko-fi.com/The Snake's Paw. Here we go.
This could be a movie, but would probably work better as like a TV series in the vein of like crime dramas. I was like, well, what if you had a person who knew that someone committed a murder? And they could it would have to be some kind of like psychic ability or some kind of power that they had. They know that this person has murdered someone, but they don't know who they murdered. They don't know where they murdered them, how they murdered them. They don't know where the body is. So they have to work backwards from almost nothing. But they're also like in a police department and they're like a homicide detective, and their job is to solve crimes that have been committed. So he has to like work his job and solve crimes in a way that he is terrible at. He cannot solve crimes at all. So he has to like kind of connect the dots to try to find the murderers he bumps into with the murders that have been committed and like kind of draw them together.
So it's almost like when he was building his detective character, he put all of his stats into gut. Like, my gut tells me that this person's a murderer, but then he doesn't have any points left to put into like competence. So he's like, I know for certain that guy on the bike over there, he killed someone or something. And I think he's already gone. So then he has to like go to the bike maker and be like, oh, so I saw a guy on a bike. They're like, do you have a warrant? No. The judges hate me when I just come to them with warrant requests.
We have, so precedence-wise, we have your classic solo noir sort of private eye, but then in your typical like modern detective TV show, there's a partner.
You know that if there is a police chief who's like, well, this is the guy who he keeps solving cases that he has no business being a part of, we're going to stick him with someone who can keep him in his lane. Right. So he's going to have a long-suffering opposite assistant. So he's constantly like, hey, I'm going to go get some coffee. And they're like, the hell you are. I'm going with you. And he's like, dang it. But then, of course, he finds a murderer at the coffee store and he can't like tell his partner how he knows.
You bought coffee before, right?
I'm literally drinking coffee I bought right now.
Yeah. Do we call it a coffee store? Is that...
Have I been calling it the wrong thing this whole time?
Emporium.
Here at Amazon.
Amazon. Amazon really took off ever since Amazon went bankrupt. I think that's our one laudable callback for the episode.
Do we want to do like a mock episode for this?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's a TV show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of variation you could do on this theme.
So I wonder, he works for a police department. That implies certain things about him. Does he want these people to be prosecuted within the justice system? Is that a must for him? Or
yes.
Does he care? Is he down with vigilante
justice? Is he going to do the Dexter thing where he...
So he wouldn't necessarily mind planting a little evidence, framing someone up a little bit when he knows that they've murdered someone, and he's pretty sure he knows who they murdered.
Gosh, there's of course going to be that moment where like he gets caught planting evidence and everyone's like, all these people that you just randomly caught, are any of them really guilty?
Well, so that would be, I feel like you could set up a season of this where it seemed like it was more of a sort of Twilight Zone approach of like every episode being sort of a discrete story unto itself, same characters obviously, but where there wasn't any build, but then all of a sudden, like just shy of the end of a season, he gets caught planting evidence and all the characters from the previous episodes come back. And
they all have to be released because he's a dirty cop. Their sentence is commuted.
There's also one possibility I thought of, which could be like a running thing through a season. It's like a running storyline through all the other storylines, which is there's a serial killer in town who's murdering lots of people. And he has to like find out who the serial killer is. We're just trying to bump into every murderer possible.
Oh, yes. Well, as long as we're doing big twists for season enders, another thing you can do is every day he goes to work and he sees all these people and he doesn't get the gut reaction. But then one day he goes to work and the guy who like is at the table next to him, all of a sudden he's like, "You've killed someone, but you didn't kill someone yesterday." you killed someone last night. He was like, this is the first time I actually have like a time frame. But yeah, it would have to be someone he works with at some point is going to set off his you killed someone radar.
Sure.
Well, and you'd also eventually have, like, if there was a policeman who killed somebody.
Yeah.
His awareness of that, who in the room has.
Then you have to kind of like, he's never really or maybe he has fine-tuned his power, so he knows the difference between you killed someone and you murdered someone.
Yeah, and
who knows?
Well, and then that brings up another possible. So I could also see a season built around if he knew if he was aware when somebody had personally performed the act of killing somebody, he wouldn't necessarily be able to find someone who had deputized people to kill someone. So like a mob boss kind of character. So it's like,
and then you have like he runs into the Jigsaw killer and he's like, well, technically I've never killed anyone. It's like, that's kind of
yeah, so we have to kind of split hairs about exactly how the power works.
Yeah, we'd have to nail that down.
And if there's one thing that people love, it's over-explaining powers.
Of course, there's always the possibility that the twist ending at the end of the shows, like this whole series finale, is that he's just crazy. Like, he doesn't have powers. He doesn't do anything. That from like episode 1.
It's like, he's just wrong.
He's just wrong, and he's just been framing people for murder.
To the notion of sketching out an episode, let's throw some things at a dartboard. So, murder method.
How about a dartboard? So someone like throws a dart and kills a person.
What weapon? In what
Oh,
place?
He has to figure out all the different things. Killed with the wrench in the library. It's the only version of Clue that actually makes sense, where you have to try to like solve a murder, and one of the things you have to solve is where was the person murdered. It's like, well, just where's the body? But like, you don't even have the body. So.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So we have killed with darts. Excellent. My mind automatically goes to sort of pool hall type thing there, but let's make it more interesting than that.
Library.
Darts in the library, great.
And then of course, like his whole thing, finding the murder weapon, it's going to be hidden in one of the books, of course, because you just stick the dart in there in one of the boring books that no one ever checks out.
Yeah, so you have to have sort of a violence meet cute at the beginning, where somehow he stumbles across the person who committed the crime and just knows it, and then partner has to be talking about, no, we gotta focus on the library murder. And you know that the two are connected.
Oh, yes.
Every episode, it's always going to be,
Every episode.
I've got the person in a literary discussion that gets overly heated decides to kill someone in the library with a dart, but then it's like, oh no, I've killed a person. What am I going to do? I'm going to hide the murder weapon, but he's not paying a whole lot of attention because he just murdered someone, so he throws it in a book. He's like, as long as they can't find this murder weapon, the law says I get to go free.
So this is somebody who has to come across super studious, and they also are in a library with somebody else who would be in the library, so maybe with an academic setting, kind of a research competition kind of. I'm a nerd.
I love the idea that like they're trying to solve it during the research off, because this library in this universe is full of all these nerds trying to win first place in the research off.
I promise we went to college.
It's like I'm next door at the coffee store and I see the crowd at the book borrowing place. That's got to be what instigated the murder. Is he's one of the world-renowned research offers. And he's like, oh, it's
the partner's hobby, because the partner is the by the book, like.
Oh yeah, that's what brings you into it. And he runs into one of them. He's like, oh, this person, he did something. And then like at the same time, world-renowned European researcher who came here for the contest, because Europe's got the best researchers, right? Because they have all the history. I don't know. Has just turned up dead. And he's like, now I have to figure out where he put the murder weapon.
Right, yeah. So I don't have time for your wild intuitions, Yaroslav. I have to focus on preparing for the research off, which, as you know...
Not with the research convention tomorrow.
They're a varsity team, Yaroslav.
There's rumors
It will be an Olympic sport.
There's rumors that Stanislav is doping... and using research-enhancing drugs. You get to see the seedy underbelly of the research conventions.
And then they find out that it was Slavoslav all along.
Who knew?
I don't know why he murdered him with the dart, but
It's the only thing he had on him.
or no, that's just the murder weapon that he planted. He didn't kill him with a dart at all. He killed him with a pen. He stabbed him with a pen.
And you know what?
It's like, looks like a puncture wound. It's probably a dart.
There's going to be like a 2 levels deep research moment here where our detective is researching the person he thinks who killed the person, and he was researching ways to kill people as part of his competitive research. There's got to be a scene where his by-the-books partner is like, you're always out here trying to stumble into the answer, but sometimes the answer you're looking for is in a good book. Like, holds up the book, he's like, Eureka! Of course! The solution is in a book! But which one? So, yeah, no, I think...
That's when we go and comb through the library records,
Yeah.
research wins the day.
Yeah.
There you go.
He had to out-research the competitive researcher. This is not what research is it? I don't know. I don't do research.
Clearly, we don't do research.
But we don't need to do research. We just need to make it look like the general TV watching public thinks research looks.
Yeah.
And I think the
Exactly.
more wrong we get it, the better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah. I don't think we could get that any better than we just did. And give them
It's a buddy
give them
comedy.
a talking dog, and you got it.
A talking dog.
Thanks for listening, y'all. We'll be back in a couple weeks with a fully produced story episode. See you then.